Good afternoon, everybody. Jason Reynolds here at Visions Realty and Investments. Extremely excited because we are sister companies, as many of you know, with Frontline Property Management, a great property management company here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. We had all the property managers in today and had an amazing presentation by Mr. Bob Helms, who has this great book. It's an Amazon bestseller, correct?
Yes, it is.
Perfect. And you guys may recognize the last name as well. Your son, Robert Helms, hosts the Real Estate Guys podcast, correct?
Yes, and that podcast, the radio show's been going for 23 years, and it's been podcasting as long as anybody else has been.
That is great. Well, Mr. Helms was here presenting to us on being an agent that works with investors and ways that we can better ourselves. But I thought it would be great to have Mr. Helms jump down here real quick and maybe, if you don't mind, just giving what's your one tip for an investor if they're looking to buy real estate or jump in that you would recommend? And then obviously they can buy your book if they want to learn more.
Well, the book actually is, although it looks like it's aimed just at realtors, it's really aimed at investors as well.
Okay.
The title of the book, Be in the Top 1%, refers to where all realtors want to be. If you're in the top 1%, you're making six-figure incomes and more.
Right.
The average agent in America, unfortunately, makes about $35,000 or $40,000, and they can't afford to stay in long enough to
That's
learn
harder,
it.
yeah.
Ironically, if they could, there's nobody to teach them. So
Right.
what this book is about, this is trying to introduce to folks that it is absolutely doable and possible. Most information you need is in this book.
Okay.
It's doable and possible to become a realtor who earns in the top 1%. And the interesting part about learning to work with investors is they buy a lot more property than people who are buying a house every 5 to 7
Right.
years.
Yep.
So there's an easy numeric reason, an easy financial reason to decide maybe there's something to learning to become an investment property specialist.
Correct. That makes sense. Now let me ask you though, I mean, why should we trust you, Mr. Helms? I mean, have you been in the real estate business 5, 10 years?
I've been a realtor since 1980. So I'm 40 years this year in the business. I've been investing since 1957. I bought my first investment property, a little single family house, and I've invested in a lot of products over different kinds of real estate, is what I mean to say.
So just out of curiosity, it's going to be painful to hear this, but so this single family was in Silicon Valley, I'm assuming, when you bought the one you bought?
Actually, it was adjacent to Silicon Valley, up in the mountains in a little town called Boulder Creek.
Okay.
And I had no plan to buy a property. I went up that weekend with a couple next door, my wife and I, and had a lovely time, fell in love with the place. Before we knew it, he had money, I didn't. Now, we paid a lot of money for this first property. It was 2 cabins on 1/3 of an acre, price $5,000. That was in 1957. And of course, one of the lessons that you want to learn as an investor is never sell. Why would you turn around and sell it? I did sell it. Now, I sold it to buy another property because I was being transferred on a job. So it wasn't a terrible thing to do. But if I had been smart enough to find a way to keep it, which I could have done it, today that $5,000 property is worth somewhere around $500,000 or $600,000. The same property, unimproved.
Wow.
Well, there was some improvement. I added a room onto the property when I was there. But yeah, I used an example with the group I was talking to today upstairs about the fact that inflation is not your enemy when you're a long-term real estate holder. How long should you hold your properties? I believe you should hold them forever and not sell them.
Yeah.
But if you had bought a little property that we showed an example of in the book, it was quite a nice property. It was a 6-unit and sold for about $100,000 in those days.
Wow. Wow.
Today, same property is worth $2.5 million.
Yep.
So, Do you think you should have sold it? You would have kept it.
I'd probably keep it.
Because there was no selling. All the time you were holding it, you were getting positive cash flow and
Right.
tax benefits.
Right.
What would have been the reason not to keep it? Well, I can't think of one.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Helms, for joining us very quickly. We will post a link down below to Mr. Helms' book on Amazon. Please take a look. And just like you said, I think it's a great opportunity as an investor to read. And then if you're going to work with an agent, it gives you an opportunity to either share that book with them and learn how you maybe interview your agent that you plan to work with for investment properties. So appreciate the time and hope you guys enjoyed it.
Thanks for having me.